Hey there, boys and ghouls. I'm Mr. Macabre, and welcome back to my movie library. This is one I honestly wasn't sure I was ever going to be making a video on, but I figured, what the hey, why not? I think mostly just because I was surprised to see this finally get a 4K release. This is one that, I watched this movie. Well, you already know by the title of the video. We're talking about Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Courtesy of Kino Lorber, part of their Kino cult line. This one is number 37. 37? If you know, you know. But yeah, this one came out today from Kino Lorber. And honestly, this I'm actually kind of surprised that this ended up getting, excuse me, ended up getting a 4K release because I know for like year I watched this movie like one time years and years ago. I watched kind of a really bad VHS copy of it, kind of a really worn down, which I know a lot of people would say, hey, that's perfect for a movie like this. That's perfect. That's the way you'd want to see it, like a kind of really like, almost like, third generation VHS copy of it, something as sleazy and vulgar as a movie like this, and everything. So now to get, a nice 4K edition of it. Yeah, I mean, this honestly for a long time, this was just something I didn't think was really going to happen. And please don't think that I'm insulting Kino Lorber or anything like that. I'm not putting them down. If anything, I applaud them for, taking the time to, get this, a 4K release. I just wasn't expecting Kino Lorber to do this, to be honest with you. I figured if this was going to get done, I mean, I could easily see maybe like, I believe that Kino is doing the trilogy. I think they've already announced that. I think it's Ilsa. Was it Hair? I can't remember. I'm sorry. The sequel, uh, Oil Sheik, Oil Sheik, or I can't remember. I'm sorry. I can't remember the title right offhand. But yeah, they've already announced that they're going to put the sequel out. I believe that's coming out next month, and then I'm pretty sure, I would assume anyway that the third in the Ilsa trilogy is going to be coming out probably December, January, or something like that. So I'm pretty sure that the third one's coming, and that we're going to have all three Ilsa movies on 4K. Just just I would think that usually something like this would be more. So I could see Severin putting out like the trilogy in like a box set, or maybe possibly Vinegar Syndrome. I don't know so much about Arrow or any of them, but yeah, I mean, just I couldn't really picture Scream Factory doing this one, but no, it just came as a surprise to me that this one came from Kino Lorber. So that being said, I would not be surprised because we got this now. I would say probably wait a year or two, and then probably one of the other like boutique companies, one of the overseas boutique companies, will probably take this and put out a more extravagant edition of this. Whereas this is very simple, very basic, just regular slipcover, and not a ton of special features. You got two audio commentaries, one with actress Diane Thorne, who plays Ilsa in the movies, director Don Edmonds, and producer David F. Friedman, moderated by humorist Martin Lewis, audio commentary by film historian Kat Ellinger and Eugenie Melodic. Sorry if I mispronounced that. She-Wolf of the SS interview with Don Edmonds by Elijah Drenner. Theatrical trailer and still gallery. So yeah, it's very simple. Not a whole lot to it, but like I said, I would not be too surprised if down the line, maybe a year, 2 years down the line, this will probably get re-released by one of the overseas boutique companies. Like I said, I wouldn't picture so much Arrow doing it, but I could see maybe like Severin or I don't know, maybe not Second Sight, but I don't know, possibly Imprint. I don't know, but I definitely see this getting re-released down the line in a more extravagant edition. Along with the other films. They'll probably do like a box set of the trilogy at some point. But but this here, it's a really really nice 4K. I think they did a really good job with it. The picture quality isn't going to really blow you away, but at the same time, it's kind of like that's kind of nice. It's a very clean print. I saw very little grain. I'm not saying that they did any kind of like digital restoration. It certainly doesn't look like it. At least, I mean, I'm not the top leading expert in that kind of thing, but it's like from what I've seen, it certainly doesn't. It doesn't look like anything that they did any kind of like digital restoration or anything like that. I'd be surprised if it turned out that they did, but still, no, it's a very clean looking print, or very clean transfer. It is Dolby Vision. The audio is a DTS Master Audio 2.0. The picture looks really, really good on here. Just like I said, it's not over the top cleaned up or anything like that. There still is a little bit of that kind of nasty, almost grungy feel to it and everything. So if you're going into this thinking it's gonna that they tried to make it look like a brand new movie, no, they didn't. It still looks very much like a '70s movie. It just looks, like a very like well taken care of '70s movie. We've seen that done before. Like I said, I was just really, really surprised how clean the image in this movie looks. Especially like I said, I only saw it, in like a bad VHS copy of it. So I still was very pleasantly surprised to see a new, cleaned up version of this film. The sound quality is, it's decent and everything. I did have to turn on the subtitles, not because like the sound was bad or the sound was low. It's just honestly, it's like a lot of the times, I hate to say, when the characters in this movie speak, it's kind of hard to understand what they're saying. It's not that I couldn't hear it; it's just hard to understand them. Just their like the dialect in which they're speaking and stuff like that. It's a little bit, it's a little bit hard to get, but no, just like I said, it looks really good. I will say certain colors do pop out, especially red. This is, because this is back in the '70s. This is before they really like perfected really good, effects for like fake blood and stuff. This is back when they were still using, I think like Tom Savini called like 3M blood. You can tell the blood, it's supposed to be blood, but it looks more like red paint or red nail polish or something like that, So it's like, yeah, so, certain colors like the color red really do pop out. They really do stick out. There is a lot of earth tones in this movie, so there is a lot of scenes that take place outside during the day and everything else. So yeah, you definitely get more of kind of like an earthy tone, kind of almost a naturalistic, desert look to it, I guess you could say. But I mean, it's not, don't go into this thinking it's going to be like very, very bright and colorful. It's like, while certain colors do pop out, not many do. But like I said, this is probably the cleanest this movie has ever looked. I think they did a really good job. I was just looking, I was like, okay. Okay, no. I thought there was like embossing here on the side. Okay, no. Anyway, but this movie here, if, I'm pretty sure chances are if you're watching this video, this movie, you've seen this movie or, of it. But, just in case, I just kind of want to make something clear though. I think that probably a lot of people that have, seen these kind of movies, these were big in the '70s, nosploitation movies. I think that there might be some people out there that, they kind of tend to avoid movies like this because I think they're afraid that this is, condoning what these evil people from World War II did. And it's really not. I mean, these movies are extreme exploitation. They're very over the top. This movie, though, I will say if, you had ever seen Rob Zombie's fake Grindhouse trailer for Werewolf Women of the SS, if you watch this movie right here, like this movie is all you need to know where Rob Zombie got the inspiration to make that trailer. There are definitely more and more of these movies. There are movies like, SS Experiment Camp, which I'm actually looking forward to getting that. That one's supposed to be coming out next month. The reason why I'm interested, not because of the movie so much itself, but I believe that 88 Films is actually starting to do kind of like Arrow. They're going to start doing, kind of like an American distribution line where they're going to start distributing like, some 4Ks and maybe some Blu-rays here in the US, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. And the idea that, like if that's true, that 88 Films is going to be doing, is going to be opening up business here in America, and they're going to be doing American releases for Americans. It's like the same thing like what Arrow ended up doing. Like I would totally support that, because 88 films, like to get that kind of quality in America for a good reasonable price, I'm all for that. But so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting that and checking that out. But but if you're going into this movie thinking like this is condoning these kind of people and what they did, it doesn't. If I've seen enough of these movies that I can tell you right here and now, these movies do not glorify them. It does not make them look in any kind of positive light. No, it makes them look, they are so over the top and absurdly evil characters, and they're ridiculous. The movies are ridiculous. And the actors, I will say that, like the actors in the movies are really, really trying to give good performances. It's just, the movies are just so ridiculous. Diane Thorne is like, she does make a great villain. I won't say that her performance is campy. It's not campy, but there is some over the top, elements to her character and her performance. But she does make a very compelling villain. She is interesting to watch. And it's just, these movies are just so insane, but there is a lot of, the best way to describe these movies, it is pure exploitation. But the movies do not glorify these people. They are always shown as the villains, and they, pretty much they always get their comeuppance in the end. Usually it's by the Americans. That's always been kind of a thing I've noted in some of these movies I've watched. It's always like, it's always like these Nazis, they're carrying out their evil experiments, and most of the time it's just mostly just doing bad things to women. There is tons of nudity and exploitation in these movies. So if that is something, if you're very put off by nudity and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, you're going to want to avoid these kind of movies like The Plague, because, like that's definitely what you're going to be getting into. A lot of women being, I guess violated, for lack of a better word, but women definitely being exploited. But, if you're going into this thinking like, it's showing them a positive light, no, it doesn't. They're always the villains. They always get their end, get their comeuppance at the end and stuff like that. And also too, if you're going into these movies, now that's the thing, sometimes these movies will put disclaimers. They do it in the trailers and stuff like that too, where they're always talking about like, here's the true story about what really happened during, World War II. These are the secrets they don't want you to know, and everything else. So much of it is bullshit. Okay. These movies are so inaccurate as far as like, history of World War II goes. Now, I mean, okay, granted, we will never know. And I'm not sure I want to know, to the full extent of, the atrocities that were committed during World War II. It's like, I don't really want to know. I kind of feel like the less I know, the better. It will kind of help me sleep a little bit better at night. So many innocent lives were taken. But if you're going into these movies hoping that you're going to get some kind of, like historical, kind of like true historical facts or whatever else, you're not going to get them from these kind of movies. You really don't. They're very, they're very just over the top. They're very, they're just filled to the brim with exploitation, lots of nudity, lots of sex, lots of violence, torture, stuff like that, blood and gore, gunfights. Usually these movies always end with like the Americans come into the camp and there's a big shootout, and everybody gets taken out and all this kind of stuff, and the camp survivors make it out alive. There's not even really, in this movie, there's not even any really reference or anything like that to the people. Like, they're just people. Like, they don't even make any reference so much to them being Jewish or anything like that. Like, that's not even brought up. I mean, hell, Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards is a much more like accurate depiction of, World War II than this is, but, yeah, I mean, I would still say if you were like really wanting to know like facts, you wanted like a more factual version of events and stuff like that. Movies like, Schindler's List would definitely be, something more to look at. And the idea, though, too, that, it is kind of insane that just like, that, these Germans were just a bunch of, just sex starved horn dogs running around everywhere and stuff like that, going after these. It's like, no, it's like during World War II, I mean, the Nazis, while, like so many, I'm sure a lot of them did have, like sexual inclinations towards Jewish women and stuff during that time. A lot of them would be like, no, these people they're lower than people, they're vermin, stuff like that, So if that happened, if that kind of thing happened, I think it was very, very rare if it did happen at all. So, because, just their ideology and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, but, finally got this on 4K, and like I said, it looks really nice. Like I said, I would expect a more extravagant version of this coming down the line from one of the overseas boutique companies, but this is really nice. There you go. You got alternate artwork. So, and you put on here, it's just the same as the slipcover. So I figured, what the hey, I'll go with the alternate artwork. So it works good for me. A really good though, working man's 4K, so both the discs. That is the one thing you got to be careful though, because the discs are exactly identical, so you got to be careful which one's the Blu-ray, which one's the 4K. That is kind of the only big gripe I have with Kino Lorber when they put these out. It's like the disc art usually always ends up looking the same, and so sometimes you get confused which one's the Blu-ray, which one's the 4K, but still. And like I said, a really good working man's 4K. I only had to pay $20 for this, so that's a really good deal. So on release day at $20 4K, I can't complain about that. Plus too, it's like, yeah, if you wait, probably, either next time or the time after Kino Lorber does a sale, you probably get this for even cheaper, like $17.99. But yeah, so I mean, even for $20, it's not a bad deal. But yeah, overall, I think I got a good deal. And like, if they did put out a more extravagant edition of this, I don't know if I would go for it, to be honest. I mean, this isn't a really movie I watch too often, I guess it would depend on the edition and what, if any, new bonus features would be included. But honestly, I can see myself just being satisfied with this. It looks good enough. It looks clean, but not too clean. You still get a bit of that kind of dingy vibe from it, So, but yeah, I mean, I could definitely see going for this, if you're into these kind of movies. If you're not into these kind of movies, yeah, I would not, take my time on this. But anyway, so yeah, just pure exploitation. So now we're gonna protect this bad boy. It's that time of the video. There we go. I like that. I like it when they go in nice and easy. So, hang on a second. Well, almost clipped the slipcover there. So there you go. So there it is, nice and protected. There we go. But yeah, I would say, if you're into very much like cult cinema and kind of almost like, I don't think this one in particular was a Video Nasties. I know other movies of this ilk were on the Video Nasties list, like Left Camp 7 and stuff like that. I know movies like that were on the Video Nasties list, but I don't recall. I don't think Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS was one of them. But yeah, but this was kind of the one that was really like the standout of these kind of movies. So, but anyway, so yeah, nice to actually have a 4K of this, and there you go. Real quick before you go, if you don't mind, I just got two more things I'd like to show you. I've got a couple of pickups here, and this here, I am really, really happy. They kind of put this off, and it's like, I was starting to wonder, is like, I really wanted to get this, because, I love these specials, and finally got it in. Got the Peanuts 75th anniversary Ultimate TV Specials Collection. This is amazing. Yeah. 5 discs, 40 TV specials. There were so many of these I watched as a kid growing up, and man, oh man, oh god, like one of the ones I really, really wanted to see again was the Happy New Year's Charlie Brown. Like I always remember that one. I think because I love books and I love reading, and I think just that whole idea of Charlie Brown, having to spend his entire Christmas break having to read War and Peace, and just to me it was always so funny seeing him because the book was so big. He's always lugging it around on the dolly and stuff like that, and just I always remember having a fondness for that one. But so many good ones. You get all the, you get the best, TV specials on here. You got Charlie Brown Christmas, Great Pumpkin, the Thanksgiving one. You got some of the great classics like Flash Beagle, It's the Easter Beagle, Charlie Brown, all that kind of stuff. And I got to be honest, because I got the three. I got, the Christmas, Halloween, and Thanksgiving. I got those on 4K. So I was just curious. So I popped this on it. And I got to be honest, even for Blu-ray quality, damn, these look really good. Like they look gorgeous, for just standard Blu-ray, these look fantastic. I mean, I'd be willing to bet you could probably put like a comparison side by side of the Blu-ray and the 4K, and you would see very little difference in the picture quality. So they did a really good job restoring all of these. Not really anything for bonus features or anything like that. It's just pretty much just the episodes, but you know what? That's fine by me. So, but yeah, just glad to really have these. I'm a big Peanuts fan, always have been. I got the 4-disc set that has like the movies, like A Boy Named Charlie Brown and Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown and Don't Come Back, stuff like that. Snoopy Come Home, I got those. So yeah, so I'm a huge Peanuts fan, and to get something like this is amazing. I am so happy to have it. And a lot of these I did have DVDs for, and so it was nice to really upgrade some of these, be able to donate some of those DVDs off and, have a nice Blu-ray copy of them. So yeah, I'm really, really happy about this. And last but not least, pick this up because, you guys have heard me say before that, like I've been, trying to look for ways to save space and everything else. This way, I think it's a really, really good way to save space, and I really do enjoy these movies. And I couldn't pass a great deal on this set. We got the 3-movie Deadpool collection, 4K and Blu-ray. All 3 movies in one set. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that cannot stand multi-movie packs. I know that to them, they hate these. They're like, I want each movie to have its own disc. I want it to be in its own case. I want each individual release. This was a no-brainer for me, mainly because the first 2 Deadpool movies, now I did have the 4K for the extended cut of Deadpool 2, which I did put in here. I substitute because the 4K in this was the theatrical cut. But it's like, well, the Blu-ray is the theatrical cut with the bonus features, so I'll keep the Blu-ray. So that way I still, have the theatrical cut, but I did switch out the 4K and put in my 4K for the super duper extended cut of Deadpool 2. So I got that, the only modification I made. But the first 2 Deadpool movies, I had the Blu-ray steelbooks. And so it's nice to get, Deadpool and have Deadpool 2 on 4K so I can trade those in. And then Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah, I have that one on 4K. But now I could take those 3 and I could sell those to the local record store. I could sell those off and get something else for it. And, and now instead of, an edition that takes up 3 spaces, I got one that takes up 1. And it's great. I have the movies, I have the 4Ks, the Blu-rays, I got the bonus features, everything else. Obviously, this is an overseas edition, but the beauty of it is all 3 Blu-rays are region-free. Even though Deadpool 2 says region B, it's a region-free Blu-ray. I was like, man, I'll give it a shot. So I put in just my region 1 Blu-ray player, and it loads up, plays perfectly, no problems. So it just, I thought that was really nice. It'll help save on some space. Like I said, this will take up 1 space as opposed to 3 spaces. So can't beat that. And like I said, yeah, it's nice to finally have the first Deadpool on 4K, and I got all three of them. So yeah, so really happy to have that. And yeah, I'm not, it's like I know where all three movies are. It says Deadpool 3 movie collection, so obviously if I want to watch Deadpool 2, I know where to find it. So, uh, but yeah, really, really happy about that. So, nice addition. Like I said, able to save space. There you go. So we got that. And we got Peanuts 75th Anniversary Edition, the TV specials. And yeah, not bad for $20. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS on 4K. And, like I said, a good working man's 4K and, affordable. Maybe not a ton of features, but at least you got something. Like I said, until, like a year or two down the road when we get the more extravagant 4K edition. But that's it. So there you go. So that's everything. So if anybody took the time to watch all this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I also hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, would you mind leaving a like? If you haven't already, please go and subscribe to my channel and share the video if you like to. And that's it. So take care, everybody. Have a good night, my boils and ghouls. Learn to love your movie library. See you all later.